who's there? Hello, Oriyomi. Good evening. Adeola, good evening. Happy birthday. Good evening, George. How are you? Good evening, everyone. As you're coming in, please start to share immediately. Hello, Pastor Chris. Hello, AK. Lisa, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Please start to share as you're coming in. Thank you for sharing. And also invite your friends. Don't just share, also invite your friends. Anastasia, good evening. Hello, Paul. How are you? Jane, good evening. Please start sharing as you're coming in. Hello, Emmy. Pastor Ernest, thank you. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you all for sharing. Jide, good evening. Good evening, Elizabeth. How are you? Hello, Palumi. Good evening. Isaiah, good evening. Thank you for sharing, guys. Please also invite your friends. Don't just share. Invite your friends to join us. Today is a special testimony, Kingdom Fruits. Hello, Favor. Good evening. Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another day that's going to be an interesting day. I want this program to be very unique and special, so I'm not going to be reading out the story of these people. I just hope they are ready in their homes. I will be calling them now. I just like their story because their story indicate and confirm most of the teachings that I've been doing about is your church a cult? And actually a lot of their experiences confirms the fact that we don't have churches in Nigeria. Yeah, I mean the churches we have in Nigeria is just false. And I really want all of us to listen. You know, their experience. God took them through such an experience that confirms a lot of what I've taught. But I've taught you from what I know. But God has really prepared them and made them to go through things that will really confirm to all of you that, wow, these things are real. So I'm not going to read their story out. I want them to be the ones to talk about their story. And I want you to invite as many people as you could invite. And I want them to go into more details as much as possible. Because I listened to them. I took my time. And I'm so grateful I did. And so I'm going to put on the video now. They are on the line already. I hope they are ready for the video. I want you people to be able to see them so that they could talk to you. Because if they are going to be talking for so long, you will need to see them. And they will need to see you. And, you have the video will be good. So, hello, the Adeyemos.
Hello, good evening, DSA and DSA family.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
How are you all doing today?
We're very well, thank you.
Well, do you think I could put on the video?
Oh, yes, if you want to.
Okay, I think I want to. Then I will ask you to do the same if you don't mind.
Okay.
Oh, good. That's visible enough. Then I'm going to do this so that people in all over the world, can you bring it closer? target it so that it will be fully visible. If not, we can put something on there. Do we need to put something on there? Okay, can you see them clearly? When put off the light here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
You can adjust your seat enough for you to be comfortable, for you to be visible the way you want us, because we are seeing more of your ceiling, not ceiling of your than you.
All right.
Yeah, that's good. That's better. That's much better. That's much better. Yeah. Now, can we get an introduction from you people?
Okay. My name is Yinka Adeyemo, and this is my husband, Yemi Adeyemo. We're based in the UK currently, originally from Nigeria. We've been married for 14 years now, going to 14 years. And we have 2 kids. We have a boy and a girl. Our boy is 12 years old, and our girl is 7 years old. We are Christians, obviously, and yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and talk. I'm not going to stop you.
Okay.
So we've been living in the UK since 2002, on and off. We've moved to live in 2 other countries, and only recently moved back to the UK in October 2016. So we have a bit of experience with being in church in Nigeria, being in church in the UK, within a African-based church in the UK for several years. I've been in church in the Netherlands, and been in church in Malaysia, and now back in the UK being in church. So we have quite a bit of a diverse experience, which hopefully we'll share with the rest of the family today. Yeah,
so just let's start the full story, please. How did you get to know the Lord? How has your experience been in the church? And how did you let's just go ahead. How do you get to know? Maybe you want to start with how you got to know DSA, and from there you go back to your story, how your own Christian journey started, and from there, professional and everything.
Okay. I stumbled on DSA, one of the videos, sometimes last year, and that was when you were teaching about how losing your job is a blessing. It was one of those videos I've heard about Sunday Adelaja before, but I've never listened to any of your messages or anything before. But when I saw that title, I was curious. I was like, okay, what is this man saying? I just clicked on the video, not really interested, but I was just curious. And I began to listen, and it began to make sense to me what you were saying. And I didn't know my husband was listening in the background, because we were together. And usually when I start listening to things like that, as you know, women were always the first one to jump on the train of these things. He would not comment or anything, but he would just leave me to do what I want to do. But this time, it didn't take him long. Maybe after just a message or 2, he started asking me to send him links to the next message, and to the next message, and to the next message. And that was how we started listening to you. And ever since then, our lives are totally changed. We have learned so much from you, even though we have seen how church is meant to be done, and the practicality of it from other places that we've lived. There are so many other things that you've taught us, like in the area of hard work, calling, and things like that. It has just been amazing for us.
Yeah, and as my wife mentioned, for me, hearing titles like "losing your job" is the best thing that can happen.
No, what was happening to you when you the first time you had your wife doing that, listening?
Okay.
Yeah, so for me, I was listening, I was thinking, who is this guy? Who is talking?
Does she know? Did she know? She didn't know you were there, right?
I knew he was there, but he was busy doing his things. I didn't expect him to listen.
Okay, go ahead.
I was busy in the background, just either doing my work or whatever, and but I listened a few times, and she didn't have to invite me or have to introduce anything to me. I just connected with the messages on time and conversion, and I'm thinking, this is what I've been looking for. This is the void. It was like a vindication, of how what the battle and the struggle in my head, that this is got to be what I've been looking for. So then, because we never listened real time, we only listen to the messages afterwards. So I'll ask her to send me the links. So on my way to work every morning, I'll be listening to the last episode, and I did that for a few days before I also got connected directly to the link. And so ever since, it's been a good experience. Continue to be mentored through your broadcasts, and for us also. The good thing is, at that time we were also in the workplace going through some challenges where there was a lot of uncertainty around whether we were still going to have a job or not. So many colleagues and friends had lost their job.
What industry is this?
This is in the oil and gas industry.
Okay. Which
last year and up until now has gone through so much turmoil and slowdown. But it was just encouraging that at that time we started to realize our calling. We started to really understand all about not being stuck in the Uncle Sam system. So for me, rather than panic and uncertainty, I was kind of prepared. I'm not literally almost kind of waiting for the worst. And saying, guys, are you gonna give me the boots? I'm ready for it. I know my life. I can never go downhill, and yes, there might be struggle initially, but
is England having oil and gas industry?
Not really England. So we're based in Scotland, Aberdeen, Scotland, and Aberdeen is the oil and gas capital for Europe. So there's a lot of activity there for the European North Sea sector out of Scotland.
Okay, so so what's your background? What's your own Christian background? And of course, maybe you have to finish saying what you are saying, in the sense that how would this kind of teaching probably help in your professional life?
Yeah, so the teaching for me started to make a lot of sense. The teaching on hard work, and how erroneously we've been taught about the false concept of one day of favor being more important than many years of labor. And I was a believer in that as well. I would say I've been misled, because that's not how I started off. I started off, finishing secondary school and university, being a very hardworking person and very highly motivated and highly driven. But the more I got, more spiritual and in quotes, closer to God, I just became lazy and wanted God to do everything for me. So I do feel that rather than progress, I've actually either stagnate or retrogressed. And I wish I'd discovered this truth 10 years before now, and literally I should be one of the movers and shakers in the society, either in business or in politics or in industry, if I had known this truth. And I just can't wait for the months and years ahead to really regain all the lost years and start to do exploits for the Lord, not by waiting, but by just taking the bull by the horns and doing the bit that I need to do, as effectively as I can. And
but you are already having a good job. You are already doing well in the oil industry. Is that the reason? Maybe that's the reason why you are not ambitious anymore, or is it because of the teachings from the churches? By the anyway,
I think it's I think in the church, based on my experience, because I have a lot of friends who are also in our own little myopic way of thinking, and this is not limited only to the industry that I work in all across the UK. There are lots of successful career-orientated people across multiple industries who, are not aspiring beyond their potential, So they kind of, everybody kind of, feel, or they're doing good. Either you work in the bank, or you work in maybe consulting, or you work in project management, or some international organization, and you think you're doing great. Maybe you have a property or whatever you have, but that message never really transcended beyond egocentrism and, being limited into your own church or into your own community. I started to be challenged by your testimony, where you shared, and this came through from several of your members in Ukraine, where they mentioned things like, you got to be the best in whatever you're doing, and it just resonated with me that when I was a lot younger, I used to have that kind of aspiration that I want to be the best in whatever I set out to do. But, knowingly or unknowingly, because I've fallen into the trap of just, waiting on the Lord, just waiting for God, lots of spiritual quotes and spiritual emotions and goose pimples without substance, Now I realize that, and now I know the reason why the people of the world, because we always ask ourselves questions, that why aren't there many Christian billionaires? That was always a question, that why are there not many Christian billionaires? Is it that God didn't want us to prosper? Those are the kind of questions, about ourselves as Christian, Christian, circles. But now I've got the answer. The reason there are not many Christian billionaires is we're not doing nearly half as much as what the billionaires of this world are doing. We're not following the principles. We're not working hard enough. We're not following, so it's now I have got the answer. Now I've got the solution, through listening to your teachings and your messages.
So you actually, before you were actually active in the church as a young man, you were actually doing better than after joining the church, after being so spiritual.
Yeah, so before I was, if you like, my spiritual tempo increased. I think I had some common sense. Some common sense. I believed in working hard. I believe in being swift. I was very, very determined. I always knew whatever. I was always ahead of the game in whatever setting that I was. So, for example, when I was in secondary school, I already knew what people in the university didn't even know.
Wow.
When I was in university, I already knew so much about the next thing that I want to do. I was very, like to explore so much. I like to, as you normally call it, I like to self-educate myself. I remember, in the past, even living in Nigeria, I will walk hours to go to the British Council Library just to feed myself with information and to develop myself, and that paid off. That paid off and gave some results, and I was, on the trajectory, and a great path, And then, spirituality setting. Yes, I wouldn't say I've been unsuccessful, but I would say I've not, nearly met as much target that I set for myself when I was a lot younger. And it's no surprise because I hadn't put in the effort. I didn't follow the principle that I needed to. I was following more of religiosity than God-given principles.
And how did God intervene?
Yeah, so we started to have some experiences in the last 4 years. All along, my wife and I, we've always, maintained a level of reason, in all this madness. We've always rejected things, commonly embraced by many people in the church. But we didn't do that, near enough. It was just the, human instinct in us that, that made us to reject some things and say, no, this can't be right. I remember, once when we lived in Portsmouth, and then, some group of leaders, felt that we were spiritual enough to ask us to become pastors, in a particular.
So I heard that is one of the tricks in the Nigerian churches now.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we
tell me, how does that work? Do they go after somebody who is doing well professionally, or what?
You weren't even a professional.
I wasn't even a professional then. It was just if you can, pray, and a few scripture, and you come across maybe as a level-headed and all that, and we rejected it outrightly. We said no, sorry, God had not called us into this part, and they tried all that persuasion, and but we just said no, this is not for us. And that had been an ongoing, discussion in the different places that we lived. We've always outrightly rejected it. And there's many things, religious, meetings and programs that we've been able to reject over the course of this year. But it literally then things started to change dramatically. I have a short experience whereby I had consulted a preacher that I was under at that time on a particular issue, and he had given me a counsel which contradicted my own sense of reason. And I followed my own sense of reason, and it turned out to be the right thing to do. So that empowered me and that kind of resonates with what you've been teaching in the last couple of weeks, that God has given us a mind, He has given us a brain. We have the Spirit of God in ourselves also. The pastors don't have the how would I put it, the
monopoly. They don't have the monopoly to God.
That's the right word, Pastor. Monopoly of access. We also do have access. So I followed my own reason, and it worked out brilliantly, and even though that contradicted the counsel from the pastor. So my encouragement to my fellow believers and
what can you give us an example? Can you tell us, is it more practical? Can you make it a little bit more practical?
Yeah. Yes, I can make it more practical. So basically I was faced with a situation at work where to move to the next stage of my career, I needed to pass an exam, and I failed the exam the first time, and the policy was that if you failed the exam the second time, that was it. You weren't allowed to progress or continue in that discipline. So I was faced with the dilemma of what was I going to do if I failed the exam. So what I did was I went and found another job with a different organization, also a very good job. Actually, it was going to pay a lot more than the job that I had at that time. And so that gave me an easy way of escape. In this new job, I don't need no exams. And so that was the counsel that I took to the preacher, to the pastor. I said, this is a dilemma that I found myself. Do I go with this new job, which has opened up an easy way out of this problem, or do I just stay back and face this exam, very difficult, very complicated exam? And the preacher suggested that, God will do whatever He will do in your life. Go with the new job, that type of thing.
That you should escape the hard road. You should escape the hard.
Yes. So what I did was, two things made me not to follow that. One is I wanted to set a good example for our children, such that when they face difficulties in life, I could say to them, from my experience, I've experienced failure before, but with perseverance and hard work, you can make it through. So I said, in the future, I won't really have the audacity to really challenge them to work hard and to face adversity in life. But the second thing, the second part that really was also very good was that God actually spoke to me. Yeah, so God didn't need to speak through the pastor. God spoke to me, and showed me how I needed to follow through the situation. And what did I do? Very simple. I worked crazy hard, like no man's business. Stretched myself like I never did before. And I passed the exam and started to make tremendous progress afterwards. So for me, that really gave me a lot of confidence to say, you know what, I don't really need to have a chat with any pastor for any counsel anymore. God can actually show me his counsel through his word, and also I can also follow God-given principles, and they can actually also work for me.
Now, we are going to begin to go to the very, very interesting aspect of your life that I want DSA family to hear. And I want your wife to begin to tell us the story of when you are transferred to the Netherlands. But before then, your background there is so dark, because the last time we spoke in the night, and you had more light, or you were sitting at another background, I don't know. But it's like the light right now is reflecting on your, we don't see your face. We are seeing more of the light that is reflecting. Yeah. So I wonder if we could make your face more visible rather than the light that is reflecting. So, okay, it's much better now.
Is that better?
It's a little bit better. It's not as good as when we spoke though, but it's much more better.
It's much better.
Yeah. Or a
It's
little, slightly better. Yeah, much better.
Much better.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe the camera could be more closer to you a little bit.
So, okay. Is that better?
Yes. Now, tell us the story of your transfer and your experience in the Netherlands. Yeah, that's much more better now. Really much more better. Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thank you. We got transferred to the Netherlands, and we, as Christians, when we got to the Netherlands, we were looking for a church where we can worship. So we initially found a church, an international church. We worshipped there a few times, but instead of being open, because of our religious mindset, we were very critical. We were looking for everything that was wrong with them. Their way of worship, they were too quiet. They don't dance. They don't shout. They don't do the. So coming from a religious
African background.
Yeah. So everything was we were like, oh, we don't think this is a church. It's more like a social gathering kind of thing. So we went there a few times and we left there. So after leaving there, we were looking for another church.
You see how our culture could inform us and actually mislead us. Most of the things that we call church, with all those jumping and dancing, those are cultural stuff. Doesn't have to do anything to do with God so much. If you can still praise God without doing all those things. If you know you can do them, it's not prohibited. But that's not a big thing about God, and church is supposed to be about personal relationship with God. And all others are just cultural expression. So you didn't feel like that was a spiritual enough church?
No, we didn't think it was a church, and God should just have mercy on us, because we judged them. We thought we were better than them. We looked down on them and everything. And then we went and looked for where we belonged at that time. So we found this Nigerian church. We joined them, and before we knew it, we were offered to be leaders. I was asked to come and start heading the women's group, which I declined, because there were so many other people there. They must have been doing it somehow before I came in. Why suddenly are you asking me to come and be the women leader? And when I declined, the pastor didn't like that, and she started acting funny. Then after that, apart from that, during workers' meeting, one of the days, after the workers' prayer, in the morning we pray together and everything. She actually was thanking us for the tithe, because we had transferred the tithe. We had paid into the church account for the tithe.
Is it because what is different? What is unique about your tithe? Everybody is paying tithe. Are they thanking everybody like that?
No, Pastor.
So I think maybe two things probably was the demographics of the people attending the church. There were people struggling, The people not stable jobs and stable immigration paper in that country at that time. So that could be one. And second thing is because of their background, maybe we probably the amount probably was significant to the time. So those are the two things that I can suggest. Probably that was why.
So
it was wrong. We felt it was.
You had a sizable amount of tithe to the church.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what was the reaction of the pastor?
No, she was thanking us, and then after thanking us, she went ahead to scold the other people, and to say, "Oh, you don't pay your tithe. We've been." I felt really bad. That was when we began to pack our bags and thought, we started thinking that no, we really don't want to be here.
And they wanted to make you leaders after that, I'm sure.
Yes. Yeah, yes, they wanted to be leaders, and we declined. We said no, and it got to a stage we just said no, we're not going back there again.
So this is a confirmation of what people... This is a confirmation of what people say, that it is people who bring big money to the church, who are bringing big offering, big tithe, that actually get the recognition, the respect, the honor of the pastor. That's what it means. You couldn't hear me well, right?
Yes. That's what,
yes. Yeah. Why should they... They probably wanted to play towards our own emotion, which we were not that kind of Christians. We were just wanted to do what we needed to do. We were not seeking any public acknowledgement.
Do you think that is practice? Is that practice in Nigeria generally, or that was just the practice in that local church in the Netherlands? Or that's a general practice in the Nigerian churches? Do Nigerian churches pay attention? Because you told me another story which is very similar, and which means that these men of God are tied to money.
Yes, and I can share that story as well. Yes, so money and income into the church, a lot of difference. And there's many stories, of even Nigerian churches based out of Malaysia, and my wife also had some it's a very similar experience where when we moved from the Netherlands to Malaysia, one of the Nigerian churches that we first attended, of course they also saw our maybe our background or maybe our income, and they wanted to be given so special treatment for my wife to maybe to have access to the man of God.
Yes. So no, now we need you, Yemi, to speak either closer or to speak up so that the quality will be better. It was better before. Yeah, good. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So we can say that maybe not in all churches, but we have had a couple of experiences that shows us that if you've got the money, then you're likely to have a bigger access, a bigger audience within the church than the people that...
Tell me this story that you did about you transferred some amount of money, then your wife could tell her own story too.
Okay.
Yes, we'll do that. So regarding this transfer of money, for me, that ended my my practice of wanting to support ministries in Nigeria, because we had a request from this ministry, which we've supported them in the past. So the request came again and said, "Oh yes, we're preparing for another crusade, and we need lots of money." And we said, "Yeah, well, since there are not many churches now going for crusade in the villages and the interior places in Nigeria, let's support them to take the gospel there." So we transferred quite a sizable seed. Well, that's what we call it then in those days, a seed. So yeah, how dumb we were at that time. But anyway, for me, and then within an hour or within 30 minutes, I got a message from a particular preacher, saying, "Oh, Mr. Adeyemo, thanks, we received the funds." I don't think it was 30. I did not transfer to his personal account. I transferred to the church's official account. And, 10, 15 minutes down the line, I received an acknowledgement. So I thought something was fishy. How can the head man of a huge, church have access, almost immediately to
the church account?
Church account. So for me, that was the end.
So you mean the church, the head of the church, the big man himself?
Yes.
Was sending you message already 30 minutes into you doing the transfer?
Yes, to acknowledge, to say thank you and acknowledge.
Is it the accountant of his ministry?
That was what I was wondering, and for me that was it. I never sent any kobo there, since that time.
Maybe the bank is in his house.
He probably had the company's the church's account, maybe connected to his phone, and you can receive a text message whenever someone paid there. So,
the accountant. Maybe it was the accountant.
No.
I don't know anyone else in that ministry apart from. So I'm 100% sure of who I communicated with before the transfer and after the transfer. And normally I should be the one, saying to say, "Oh, by the way, I've made the payment." I wasn't even prepared to do that because, he shouldn't really acknowledge it. We expect God, because we genuinely were giving to God. We were not trying to curry favor from this man or from this ministry. We were just genuinely, out of ignorance, yielding to a call for help. And we got that kind of a response. We just said no. And these are some of the more credible, if you like, credible in quotes, names in the Christian church circles in Nigeria.
What is the experience that Yinka had?
Yeah, the experience I had was with the Nigerian church that we tried in Malaysia. When they had a special program and they had invited a guest minister from Nigeria. So after the service, as usual, we were going to see the man of God because he was prophesying and giving words and everything. And the queue was very long. The queue was very long. But the pastor of the church and the wife, they took me from behind the queue and took me to the front.
Why? God. Why that?
Well, because of the status.
What status?
Because they thought we were better than the other people, and
Maybe because you were bringing bigger tithe.
Oh yes, everything is all linked together.
Yes, you can say that, Pastor.
And I went inside. I didn't actually want to go, and I didn't really plan to go and see this man of God. But the pastor's wife was like, I should go. Okay. So I went in. I didn't really know what to say. So the man prayed for me, and he said, "Oh, so I came out. It was very brief. So the pastor's wife saw me again. I said, "Are you through?" I said, "Yes." She said, "No, that's not enough. Come, 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 come." And then she took me inside again. And then this man was like, "Okay, how is everything?" I said, "We're fine." And then he prayed again and said, "Oh, one woman, that one evil eyes, blah, blah, blah." And started saying all sorts of things. And, after we left, I left the place. I was shocked because he actually didn't really have to give any prophecy since he didn't see anything the first. but because, the pastor's wife said, "No, Sister Inka, you have to go back." "No, that was too short. Please pray. This is Sister Inka, pray for her," and everything. He just had to make
some prophecy. He has to give birth to some prophecies very fast.
Exactly. Exactly. So that for me again was very strange because there were lots of people waiting, and these people, we in the church, it's so sad that we look down on people. We treat each other badly. The community is not a real community of Christians where we care for each other, we respect each other, we love each other. That was not my experience, at least there. It was like, okay.
But now I want you, Yemi and Yinka, now to everybody in DSA family, please, I beg you right now, begin to listen to this aspect. After you have moved to Malaysia, what kind of church did you discover, and what are the coloration or between what you discovered there and the teachings of Pastor Sunday, what church should be, as against the background of what you have experienced as a church?
Yes. Thank you, DSA. So we left this Nigerian church again. So we found this church. We were invited by a Chinese couple, and we decided to try out this church. It's a big Pentecostal church, but predominantly Chinese. The services are in English because we don't understand Chinese, obviously. So we went there the first time, the second time, and we were amazed. we were amazed. Pastor Sunday, for 2.5 years that we lived in Kuala Lumpur, they never made announcement for offering. Not once. They didn't even say it's offering time. Not once. The offering basket is always going around during announcements, and if you're not quick enough, you miss giving your offering.
Is that a culture shock for you people, especially after?
Yes, and I had an experience where I was not quick enough, so I quickly rushed because we've been taught that how dare you go to church and you don't give? You have to give by all means, right? So I missed because they passed the offering basket very quickly, very swift. It's as if they're not interested in it. If you have, give. If you don't have, well, God bless you. So I missed it, and I was rushing to meet one of the ushers to pass him my offering envelope, and he very sternly rejected it and said, "No, it's over. Come with it next week." That's the opposite, and you will see in Nigerian churches, they will remind you, in case you have forgotten, there are baskets everywhere. You will be given ample opportunity to drop your offering in Nigeria. You will not miss your blessing.
So if you don't bring offering to a Nigerian church, you miss your blessing?
Oh yes. Because I don't know, I think people can testify, either people online or people who are physically there. There's a very popular slogan, during the course of a service in Nigerian oriented churches, where they will say it's offering time, and then the members will say it's blessing time.
Are you serious?
Yes.
What do you mean blessing time?
Yes, across denomination, offering time, and everyone will say blessing time.
So what happened before then? It was not blessing time before then?
I don't think there are many opportunities for blessing in Nigerian churches if it's not linked to offering, sacrificial seed, or I've not heard many experiences or messages that showed us many other ways in which we can be blessed by God without necessarily tithe, offering, seed, name it.
What are the other examples? What does the church in Malaysia show you? What are the other illustrations that you could give us to compare to the experience you had from African church?
Prayer? Yes. One other big shock for me was prayer. You know, DSA, you've taught us, I don't know if people have listened to your series, whoever has listened to that series on prayer, that prayer is relationship building, is time to just love on God and everything. So it happened that I was invited for a prayer meeting by some of my friends from the church, and we went for this prayer altar, they call it, and for 3 hours we were just worshiping God without praying, without actually asking God for anything. It was just a time to love on God, and when they were actually going to pray, it was prayer for nations. And they were picking different countries and they were praying. No single minute was left for us to say, okay, at least we have worshipped for so long. Now let's present our request before God.
Our own egocentric needs.
And yes, and you know what, DSA, I was thinking in my mind that these people don't really know how to pray. I have to show them. After we have worshipped for so long,
to pray for your own needs.
we should present our needs before God, and but after a while I got used to that. Actually, as a matter of fact, in the church they have like about 4 to 5 prayer altars going on every week.
Wow.
Where people go in for about 3 hours. There's morning prayer altar and there's evening, so depending on when you are available to go, you can go in the church, and it's always a very small group. People are just praising and mainly worshiping. Let me not say praising, deep worship, soaking in the presence of God and just enjoying the presence of God. That was also
without asking for breakthrough and healing and all those things.
No, Pastor Sunday. Do you know every year there's an annual of 40 days of fasting and prayers, and they do the prayer outline. There is nowhere you pray for yourself. There is no,
So no egocentric Christianity.
Oh no. Oh, we were amazed. In fact, the day we usually like program, and we were praying for Malaysia, even though we were not from Malaysia, because the church, if we were not careful, we would have left the church, because it was like the church for Malaysia. That was the feeling we were getting.
No, because it's the church for the nation. That is the country they are based in.
Yes,
everything they were doing, center, is all revolving around our nation.
That is why God raises churches up. It's like when I went to a church in England, they never even pray for the country at all, only for people's problems. As if church is existing for egocentrism, not for the nation.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Pastor. Even in Nigeria, churches, we don't love our nation. They don't point us to our nation to have deep-seated love for our nation and really pray. Then if we're not praying for our nation, how can we be, strategizing and doing projects that would help our nation?
Right. So you saw a new picture of church, even the way they pray.
Even the way they pray, you see people sitting on the floor, people kneeling down and just, blessing the nation. There was one prayer meeting we had, and they were blessing everything that was in the nation, the animals, the mountains, the everything. I was like, wow. That was quite strange, for me.
So you met a new form of Christianity.
We did, yes.
Yes, Pastor. And we talked about money already as a comparison. We've talked about prayer. I'd like to talk about your very common, it's almost become a slogan now. You cannot love God without loving people.
Yes, sir.
So for us, this just introduced us. It was an eye opener for us, and it just started to prepare us really for what we were going to be listening to from you. And it made everything come together. So I'll give you a couple of examples how these people, they blew my mind. So this church, they had lots of projects, whether within Malaysia or outside of Malaysia. They even, just one church, they were reaching out to Myanmar, they were reaching out to Cambodia. They have special team, volunteers within the church, 10 people, 20 people who were prepared. They have relief materials ready to go into Myanmar whenever there was a problem, with doctors and nurses and builders to help people.
Brilliant.
And they have the focus of this church is about imparting the needy in the society. In their feeding programs, they have one of their outreaches where not only do they collect donation from the church, they are also enterprising. So what they do is they collect other goods that can be sold. So to the point where this particular enterprise has about 18 to 20 shops where they are selling things to make money, to generate revenue, to do mission work, to do charity work. So they're not only waiting for donation from the church, but they are also, so for example, they will do like a kitchen on Sundays for members to buy lunch after church, and all the proceeds from there goes towards executing some of the projects that the church have. One area of the love for people that really blew our mind, and it might be strange to people, but they so much love their fellow human being of different religion. So the Muslims, Malaysia is a predominantly Muslim country, only minority are the Christian. So what did they do? There are Malaysian senior citizens during fasting who do not have food to break their fast. They supply a lot of food to Muslims to encourage the senior citizens.
What was your own response to see that the church is supplying food to Muslims, Yinka?
Yes, I disagreed in my mind. I was like, how can they be encouraging them to to do their Muslim thing? Coming with my religious mind. But then I repented.
So you think the church was wrong?
I thought the church was wrong.
What about Yemi?
Yeah, for me also it was shock. I didn't think they were wrong, because I have a respect at that point for what the church was doing. I was just confused that what was the objective, because I have not been brought up with that mindset.
So your Christianity was not good enough to love Muslims?
No.
So who was your Christianity good enough to love?
To love myself. It was always about me, my family, my job is a typical thing, my breakthrough, my deliverance. This meeting is for.
But what made you people to know that the action of these people towards the Muslim was the right thing when you started listening here?
Yeah, so we of course this was a church where we spent considerable time. So after the initial phase of shock, we also started to see reason and say, if you're going to reach out to a community, first of all.
No. I'm saying when you started listening to DSA now, how will you compare? I mean, how did you get your confirmation? That's what I'm saying. To that particular reaching out to the Muslims.
Yeah, so listening. Yeah, so I got the confirmation. I don't know if many people have listened to you in one of the HMTs where you outlined the projects that you're going to do in the north, and that the project to involve building mosques. Then I said, yes, this is what the people in Malaysia have been doing. Now I see another example from your project. Then for me, it made sense that this is the app. It's two completely different countries, two completely different region, two completely different projects. But you wanted to build mosques in the north as part of the project to show love to people, and there's a lot of effort in this church in Malaysia, geared towards the Muslims. So for me, it was a confirmation.
Brilliant. Continue, please.
For Muslims who are poor and indigent in their schools, they found out that some of them, because they didn't get breakfast in the morning, they never attended school, so they started a special program where all the kids were fed in the morning, and then they started to see.
Who was doing this?
The church.
Was going to feed these Muslim students?
Yes.
Say that again, please. Explain more elaborately that this is not a church school.
No. This is not a missionary school. It's got nothing to do with the church. So the missions, one of the missions group in the church. So the church has mission teams, about 3 different charities that is staffed by professionals and full-time workers who are looking into this. So everything that they did was done to the highest possible standard with a very excellent spirit. They recruited graduates from their church, focused at looking at how can we best serve our community, whether they are Buddhists or Muslims or Christians, no separation. So they were not out to show love to just Christians or to just anybody.
So what were they doing concretely?
Say that again?
Yeah, go ahead and talk. You talk.
Yes. So I wanted to quickly mention this. It's not just feeding. What really surprised us was they also did their research. They found out that many students, on Fridays, it was difficult for them to commute to their mosque. So sometimes when they go to the mosque, they never came back to school after the mosque. So what did the church did? The church provided transportation. So they said, yeah, we want you to still practice your religion, but we don't want you to miss school, right? So they provided transportation to take them to their mosque, pray to your God. We wanted to come back to school because to get good education, because they are also supporting them with teachers and extracurricular activities and teachers.
So what was this doing to your mind?
Yeah, for us it was a transformation. It was some of the best experience that we had. It really made us to know what church was about, right? So some of the projects that we had then began to start was as a result of it. Even before we
before you go into that, let me ask you a question. Yeah, I want to interject.
Yes.
What will happen to Nigeria if you begin to have churches like this one, the one you have just seen? God had to take you to a strictly Muslim country to show you what church is, whereby Nigerians are bragging themselves that we have revival, that we have the move of God, that we have big churches, that we have God is a Nigerian, that this and this, but they don't know that we don't even have any church at all right now. You tell me if you have seen such a church in Nigeria before, and you compare, what do you think the church in Nigeria is missing that God had to teach you in a Muslim country, and what are the differences, what are the lessons, and also what could have happened to the country if all our churches have been like this one?
If all our churches were to have been like this one, DSA, Nigeria would be a transformed nation. It would be a completely different nation. Poverty would not be so much. And one other thing that I noticed with the way these Christians are in Malaysia is that most of the time when there's a project or something to be done, they're not waiting on God to come and do it. You start hearing prayers like, God, please give us wisdom.
Wow.
I was shocked. That was another thing that I noticed there.
No, explain to us, what do you mean, wait on God? Okay, explain that again.
If maybe they have a project, maybe they want to do something, they're always asking God for wisdom. They're not just praying and say, okay, we do 3 days of fasting and prayer and we wait for God to sort it out. they gather people that are professionals in that area. Take, for example,
I'm going to stop you a little bit. The best way, the best illustration is always to give comparative analysis. So let's say where you are coming from. Where if there is a problem, what do? You pray, you wait, or what?
Yes,
and then
I always pray.
So that is the comparative analysis you do. But here, this is what they do. Yes.
For me, before we went to Malaysia, it has always been a case of, okay, I want to do this, then I pray and keep praying and keep waiting on God and never do anything. I don't even ask God for wisdom to do it. I just keep praying and praying.
Is that just you, or that is just the regular practice in Nigerian-oriented churches?
I think it's, at least for my friends and people around me too, I think it's the same mindset. You just keep praying and waiting for release or, whatever.
Waiting on God?
On God, yes.
So what should God do?
Yes, I was expecting God to come out from heaven and come and do it. But now I know better.
Okay.
Now I know better.
So what did you see? Not about you now, but what did you see in Malaysia?
In Malaysia, I see that they are praying and they are planning. They're praying and they're planning. In fact, the church, because Malaysia is a predominantly Muslim country, they're already preparing that in case they want to, put a law in place that everybody must become Muslim and other people cannot practice their religion. They already gathered Christian lawyers that are looking into the laws and planning. They're there, just in case this comes up anytime in the future, so that they will be able to fight that. So they're praying and they're also planning. And I hear a lot of give us wisdom, to do this. They're not sitting down and saying, okay, we're praying, we pray this year, we pray next year. No, they're planning and they're praying.
What was that all doing to you people when you were just seeing all these things happening?
My God. A lot of times we cried in the church, DSA. Especially during their independence celebration, it is always lovely. When they bring the flag of their nation and they bring children, not old people, to come and pray and bless the nation. It's always a big celebration that even though we're not Malaysian, actually in the church, I think we were the only black family there. And we didn't mind. We were just enjoying and just learning how they were doing their things and just, just there and just getting along and just doing things with them.
So if I was going to put what Nika just shared into classification, so we said DSA taught us that God will not do for us what He asked us to do. So basically, this church is an example of if they've got to do a project, maybe an outreach or a big crusade, they will pray from day one to the very last day, and they will plan like no man's business, as if they are not praying. They will get all the professionals out. They will put in their best. They will put up the best, campaign or the best project that you can ever see around. They are all about excellence. They are all about being the best. Even though they are praying, they are also doing their bit. Working really hard and delivering kingdom-minded results. I also wanted to mention a few other examples.
Yes.
If we've got the time.
Right.
And this still talks about, how you've taught us that the church should focus on the down and out as well as the helpless.
Yeah.
What does SIBKL do? So basically what the church did was they paid salaries to pastors that are poor and that are pastoring in remote villages. These villages are extremely remote, and these are churches that do not have anything to do with their own church. They've just identified that there are some pastors in some jungles, where they themselves can't find any work to supplement their ministry work. Oftentimes they are there as missionaries, where they're full-time going from village to village to evangelize to the indigenous people in the jungles. So what did they do? They set up salary funds to support these pastors, not with any expectation to receive anything from them. And they also built churches. The churches that the churches that they're building have got nothing to do with their own denomination. So they build these churches and they release them to the public. If anything, the churches is going to cost them even more to be maintaining, to fund it with furnishings and staffing. But they recognize those who are down and out and oppressed in the society, and they always did their best to support.
So when I'm saying that we don't have Christianity in Nigeria, are you now we don't have church in Nigeria? Are you now understanding or not?
We totally understand you.
So for us, it was not difficult actually to take on board. It was for when we started to listen to you, it was like, yes, it kind of helped us to really transition from the new experience that we had and to really take on board that experience and to run with it.
Now, you people left out my question. My question is that you tell me, what is it that you saw in the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ in the nation of Malaysia compared to what you saw in England with the Nigerian churches, in the Netherlands with the Nigerian churches, and even back in Nigeria with Nigerian churches? What are the main, again, I like comparative analysis. What are the main differences? Where is Christianity? And then the teachings of DSA in the middle of all that?
Yeah. So I think we will try to highlight some of those around. There's no egocentrism at all. We never bothered about praying for ourselves. The focus of the church was about the community, was about the wisdom, was about the poor. Okay, I'll give you another example. So the church made itself relevant in the society. What did they do? They approached a corporate insurance organization. They had done their research and said, one of the biggest insurance company in Malaysia, that you don't have any corporate social responsibility program. They've done their research and we said, you know what? We can help you develop your corporate social responsibility program. You will take the glory that you, company XYZ, are doing so well. This is the people that we are helping. But we will be in the background helping you to actually execute this project. So there is no egocentrism. The church doesn't want to be seen to take the glory. They just want to do what God has called them to do. So what did they do in this particular project is they went to poor people again. Poor people cannot afford unemployment insurance. They cannot afford medical insurance. So they get some funds.
Is this just for the church members?
No. This is for people in poor neighborhoods. Now, they will go to them. They will say, yeah, fill out this form. Whenever you're out of work or you have medical issue, there's a fund allocated by this company that is administered by us. So they take care to make sure that people with young families, whenever they lost their job, they would have a salary compensation. People that had medical bills that they could not attend to would be paid for. So the church took care of the back end execution of the project, while this insurance company, even though they did nothing, they provided the funds, took the glory and said, well, look at what we're doing for the community. And the church was perfectly happy to make sure the kingdom work is being achieved without the church taking the glory. It's not about what the church is promoting or advertising itself on, but it's about what they're doing to impact directly in the community.
So is this this is a vindication to me. Why I say I wanted you to talk and for as long as possible, because this is a vindication to my teachings. This is the kind of church we have here in Ukraine, and I'm just so happy that it's not just in Ukraine. Even in a Muslim country, this will happen anywhere. And whatever we call church in Nigeria, I want you to keep on making the analysis. What are the things you saw back home? And what are the things that, that the way you have now learned that things are supposed to be? Both concerning you, yourself, personal life, church, nation, finances, everything.
Okay. So another story which I would like for my wife to share is the story of a great minister of God that visited us in Malaysia. He visited us from Indonesia. This man of God runs the largest church in Indonesia, and he moves in evangelism and power of the Spirit, whatever. And we had this great crusade in Malaysia to bring people to the Lord. He was a guest minister, and he did what your average so-called highly anointed men of God in Nigeria will do. But I'd like my wife to share with you, after the crusade, crusade, what experience did she have with this man of God? Because he stayed back for a few days. I'd like Yinka to share that with you.
Okay. So what happened was, after the crusade, some of my friends called me that, this man is having an exhibition, an art exhibition, that I should come along and see. So I went with my friends, and I was surprised at the kind of artwork that this man of God was showing off and exhibiting. This is a big man of God, that when he came into the crusade, demons were screaming and everything. And after the crusade, he was just in t-shirt, showing us around, showing us his artwork. And they're not, most of them were inspired by even characters from the Bible. And lots of people came from all walks of life to come and see. And this is what he does, when he goes somewhere to preach. After the preaching and the program, he goes on to do his own exhibition. And I was surprised that a big man of God like that would be doing such a thing. And actually, after talking to him and everything, I was inspired myself to connect with the artistic part of me. And I have picked up the painting brush, and I've started painting since that last year that I met him.
So Pastor, the reason I wanted to bring this example, the point I wanted to bring out is, here's your typical man of God by Nigerian standards and definition, but he has two sides to him. He also demonstrates excellence. These artworks, my wife couldn't even afford to buy them. We're talking about world-class, international quality artworks in the tens of their thousands of dollars.
Wow.
So he has developed his God-given talent outside of the group. Yeah. So when you're talking about, hard work and being resourceful, pastors should not focus on just tithes and offering. So this man is getting this inspiration from God, and is converting, to use your own word, is converting the inspiration he gets from God, from the scriptures, and making it into world-class art exhibition that, famous people come. Whether he goes to Hong Kong, or he goes to China, he goes to everywhere in Asia, people go to his exhibition, buys this artwork, and then he's able to use the proceeds to go back into because he's a missionary, they go for mission work. God has opened China to them. So he's not just only a minister on the spiritual side, but there's another side to him.
He's not just relying on his anointing, Holy Ghost coming out and demons being cast out, but he's actually using his other gifts.
He's working hard. He's working hard and developing his God's given talent.
So he doesn't need to exploit. He doesn't need to exploit the money, the people with their money, tithe and offering and things.
No. Chinese people won't even allow that. They're very critical.
They're very critical people. They think, Pastor.
They won't just give their money like that.
So you tell me what would normally obtain in the background, that in the our own background that we are coming from, religious background, a man of God like that.
Yeah, so a man of God of that caliber, he would be celebrated almost worshipped, and he will, at least not that I'm aware of, will not be involved in any other vocation that is outside of ministry and the main conventional healing the sick. You know, this man also heals the sick. You know, one day, and the next day he picks up his paintbrush and delivers a quality artwork that even non-Christians will come. You know, they exhibited in the best hotel in Kuala Lumpur, and had visits from great people from the society who wants a quality international level work. So for me, the message is going to be, who am I following outside of the church? Saying, who are they? What are they made of? What is their pedigree outside of the church calling? You know, and how can they inspire me to also be the best that God has called me to be?
Amazing. Okay, yes, go ahead.
There's a lot to talk about, Pastor, because I attended a 1 week stewardship course with this church, and there I got to meet with one of the elders, and he says to me, one of the reasons that they have never since the inception of the church never preached on prosperity or on giving and all that. That they believe, when you see what the church is doing in terms of affecting the nation, affecting the neighborhood, then if they said a true test of whether they fed you with the word of God is how you then respond to the projects that church is doing. So on the other hand, they just, because they don't preach about prosperity, right? But you ask me, how do people prosper? Then what they do, what they focus more are practical ways. So there's a lot of meetings and workshops on how people can prosper. It's got nothing to do with scripture. So they will bring in, members of the church who are maybe gurus in finance or gurus in life coaching or different. Regularly, almost every week, there's an event, there's a workshop where people are taught practical things. People can network and understand how to be the best in their field, or how to get knowledge in a particular area, and then they can go into the marketplace to prosper.
They are rather doing economic empowerment rather than just taking people's money and telling them through giving they will prosper.
Correct, absolutely. They will show them how, in practical terms, they can actually prosper. Not tell them, stories from the Bible or from the scriptures.
Oh my God. So you coming out to now begin to listen to DSA after all this, what was that doing to you?
Yeah, as my wife mentioned, as I was listening in the background, it was like, the coin just dropped. I said, yes, this is now the link to really authenticate, our journey. It was kind of like put the journey in a cruise control, adjust your seat and say, yes, now I can, and then we were just soaking it all in, all the HMTs online, all the series, just soaking it in, and it just made us to be more determined and be resolute to say, my wife and I just agreed and said, you know what, we're not going to pray for our needs anymore. We're not going to focus on our own life anymore. Everything that we're going to be about from now going forward is going to be about the kingdom of God and the people who are less privileged that we can be a blessing to.
Yeah, so what are some of your decisions since you started listening to me and so far, what has changed in your lives?
So what has changed in our life? I don't know if Yinka wants to start with that.
Yeah, one, a lot has changed in our life, obviously, and I particularly stopped waiting on God and I started to do something. I really have passion for children in Nigeria, especially poor children. When I see poor children, I feel so sad and unhappy, and I just want to do something to help. So we've registered a foundation where we're going to be looking after poor children and widows. At the moment, we've adopted the widow with our 4 children, and we're going to be looking after their education until they're done in secondary school, through secondary school, and we'll see how God will help us from there. I also started a group on Facebook because I noticed that in recent time we've had a lot of contact with people back in Nigeria, and we noticed that the mindset is just so wrong. People want to get something by doing nothing. Everybody wants to get rich quick. They're either doing MMM or sitting down in church and praying. So what I do on the group is to just send out like motivational quotes, just to something different for them to be looking at. And I do that twice a day. And some of these young people have been coming to me, in private, and been sending me messages for guidance and things like that. And I'm so thankful. It's not quite big yet, but we're making a difference in that little area for now.
So from my side, some of the things that I have in plans is still at the early stages yet. Because I now have a passion to go into the church and kind of debunk, the myth that people currently have. So previously, I know God has called me to gather people and talk to them. Yeah. So whilst I was sure that God has not called me to be a pastor, I've always struggled out. But then what am I going to tell people? So having this journey that we've had and this recent experience in the last 1 year with your messages, it's helped me to really now define, oh yes, what God wants me to gather people for is a skills and leadership development fellowship. So we would say to people that the fellowship that we are having, we are not going to pray, because everybody can pray at home. Everybody can have their own time with God.
Yeah, because that is your personal walk, personal relationship with God.
Exactly. We are not even going to sing worship. Why? Because spend your own time worshiping God. But what I see that is lacking in Nigeria is skills and leadership and excellence. So what I'm working on now. Do you know just what you are trying to say? I was trying to tell Nigerians it is a weakness. It is not a strength. When they were talking to me about Hallelujah Project or Hallelujah Shout, that they are all going their thousands to go and just sing and feel good. I mean, that is, they don't even know that is a sign of dumbness. That is what is so sorry? Yeah, go ahead, Pastor. I just said it was a waste of time.
Yes. And Nigerians are doing that every day.
Yeah. So, and what I want to be able to prove to people is, if we can add value to ourselves sufficiently enough, even as Christians, we can begin to change our neighborhoods. We can begin to change our nation. We can begin to change every sphere of influence that we have. But if we remain empty-headed people, mediocres, then it doesn't matter for how long we pray for. Things are going to remain the same. So I want to help young people to pray less, worship less. It might sound controversial, but
yeah, they can do that in their own private lives.
Exactly. So in a corporate environment, how can we help people to really? And a lot of these people are very young and very smart. and they are diverting their energy into spending all night in mountain tops and camps and prayer meetings and church. And,
what a waste! What a waste!
Exactly.
Because they are spending their time to pray for what God has already done, what God has already given. You don't need to pray for those things. Go just work it out.
Yes. And I'm going to, show them some results. I'm going to use, a few people to show that results. And then with that, hopefully we can create a new kind of church, a new kind of, fellowship, where people will begin to harness their God-given talent and God-given potential to affect the nation. And in order to do this, I am currently looking into the possibility of developing some of your materials and video materials and books, because I believe God has called me again. I know God has called me into teaching, and educational sector. But again, I haven't been able to develop what area, do I go into mainstream academia or what do I do? But, in the last 6 months or so, I've been able to get a direction that actually, since I'm getting a lot of information and knowledge through DSA's materials, and I have a skill, I have a passion for talking, for teaching, for education, I can combine that to begin to run workshops and seminars. With the eventual plan is to kind of create like an academy or a college where everything will be all about, the new Nigeria, the new message that we want to put out there. We need to put out hard work like no man's business. People don't have a clue what hard work means. We need to put out delayed gratification. We need to put out crisis. We need to put out problems. We need to put out, being excellent in whatever we're doing, being the best.
Conversion.
Conversion. We need to put it out in a formal training environment, but not make it theoretical. Show them how it can actually be done. So those are some of the projects that I'm working on, and I hope I can begin to collaborate with you and take that to the next level.
But Yemi, why are you holding back from your visit to Nigeria, your last visit, and your experience with religion?
I'm not holding back, Pastor. I think we just got to that time. So I was in an enterprise, on a street, and I was outside,
I want you to start afresh. I never heard. Nobody ever heard you. Tell them you traveled.
Okay. So I traveled to Nigeria last week. I came back on Thursday. So I spent a week. And one of the experiences that I had on one of the days was as early as 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. And there was a young lady who was distributing Christian flyer for a program.
7 o'clock in the morning, you make me want to cry. I'm so weeping.
Yeah, and this very young lady, maybe in her 30s, distributing the flyer, and the flyer is for a program that's going to happen in this one of the biggest mainstream churches in Nigeria, and the title of the program was Supernatural Turnaround Banquet. And I quickly took the picture with my phone of the flyer and sent it to my wife. And I said to her, it's evident that they're not going to get no supernatural turnaround.
No, what do you mean? What are they doing? I don't know. What is the program? When is it going to happen? The same day, the next day, when, what?
No,
at the weekend. So the program. So I got the flyer maybe on a Thursday, and this was, or maybe on a Monday. This was advertising the program that is going to happen on Sunday.
But why would the woman be going through the street?
probably what she's been asked to do, to give as many flyers as she can. She's probably been coerced, because I don't see, it was crazy, it was madness, but because
so people like this will not be going to work. They are not going to create anything. They are not going to production. They are not going to factory. They are not going to the library. They are not going to the laboratory. They are not going. They are just being wasted and exploited by churches.
Yeah. So there's a few things that I see that, Pastor, we all need to act fast to rescue our nation. So I'll give you another example where people going to, I had people doing some work for me, and he turned up and he did not have his work tools. So I said to him, clearly, you're never going to be successful. So what I've been doing is, for people that are coming in contact with me, I'm coaching them, whether it's the carpenter or the generator man or the driver, or even that are, some people that are working for us in other capacity. I'm giving them one-to-one coaching. And what am I telling them? I'm telling them, please stop praying. Please, there is no demon pursuing your destiny. You are the demon that is pursuing your own destiny. Life is predictable. There are principles. You've come to do a piece of work or to examine a piece of work with no tools. So I sent him back. I said, anywhere you go, you have to take. I said, you clearly will not be one of the best in your field with this attitude. So I was very blunt and instead of ignoring them, I tried to coach them and try to show them direction. And this is the job of a church. This is what church should be telling members. So if I pastor the church, in Nigeria, I will be saying to them, God will not bless you. So rather than saying this week God will bless you, I'll say this week God will not bless you if you do not do it.
Bravo!
Because clearly God hasn't been blessing you. That's why we are still mediocre. We're still, at the bottom of the of the ladder. That's why there's still so much poverty. And another sad case, Pastor, people have been talking about how the proliferation of churches in Lagos and in Nigeria. And for me, it was as if I saw it differently. My eyes opened and I saw that this is a cancer. Some of the choice properties that these churches are occupying, these are prime industrial areas in Ikeja. So how can there be a church very close to where there is a bottling company? This church should be a paint industry. They've got a space, a huge, massive piece of land in mainland Lagos. I said, and I'll say to, maybe if I was being taken around by a driver, I'll say, you see that church? That should be a factory employing 800 people.
Yes, please go ahead. I'm hearing you very attentively.
So we need a movement, that would really, reorientate our people and say, stop going to church.
So this is what you experience yourself. Because I'm sitting here in Ukraine and I tell people, until people stop going to those churches in Nigeria, we are going nowhere. That only when people say they have stopped going, I know they've become a Christian. Because church is doing more harm than good.
Yes, because how can you have the audacity to promise people supernatural? You will not get any supernatural turnaround if you do not follow some principles. Rather, why don't you call for a turnaround banquet based on knowledge, based on skill, based on conversion, based on production, not based on emotions and twist people's heads and give them false promises.
What was happening to your heart while you were in those kind of atmosphere? What was happening to your mind? What was going through your emotions?
So the good thing is my emotions. I was not sad. I was more determined, and I was very happy to do all of the intervention that I did. Whether I intervened, and many of them were people that I didn't even know. I cultivated the habit of personally intervening in people and saying to them, young man or young woman, you're not going to be successful. You're getting it wrong. I was going straight to the point that you're missing it when people come late, when people don't fulfill their promises, when people don't, fulfill their own end of the bargain. I say to them, you can pray from morning till night. If you continue this way, you'll be getting the same results that you have been getting. So what was going through my heart was the passion and determination to see a change, one person at a time, and to talk to people and to really point them in the right direction.
Now, Sister Yinka, when you are hearing all these things, could you picture Nigeria and what could be done? What do you think? Do you think there's anything from where you are, where we are, everyone, we on DSA family, is there anything, not just Nigeria, this kind of cancerous Christianity is being spread everywhere? You have witnessed it in England, you will witness it in the Netherlands. Is there anything we, just as ordinary human beings, can do about all this ignorance and cancerous Christianity being spread everywhere?
Thank you very much, Pastor. Yes, there's a lot we can do. And what we can do is that to start with people in our immediate vicinity, people that are in our sphere of influence, maybe our friends, our families, and everything. We need to keep telling them. Take, for example, there's one of my nieces in Nigeria that wrote an exam. She wrote 2 exams, and she failed. And next thing I heard is that a pastor told her that people some people are after her. And I called her. I said, now, how did you get to this pastor? How did you get to know this pastor in the first place? Because she's only 20 years old. She told me that her friend's mom took her to this pastor. And they told her that some people are after her. That's why she's failing the exams and everything. I said, well, nobody is after you. You're just lazy. Because from what I heard about the other thing, the way she does other things, I could tell that she was a very lazy girl. So I told her straight, you are lazy, and if you continue with this attitude, you will be your own enemy. You will be the one pursuing yourself, not those people. Nobody is after you right now. You are the one pursuing yourself. And I told her, and she was shocked that I was saying that there was nobody running after. This is what I've been doing. Everybody that I've come across, it's so much in Nigeria. Every little thing. Even if if you don't go to toilet on time, is the devil. If you see cockroach, it's the devil. If a fly flies around you, too much, it's the devil. Some people must be after you. So this is what I've been doing. I've been telling people, even my mother, even my brothers and sisters, everybody. And this is what I think we all have to be doing. Just keep telling people. When they bring all those things, just tell them straight away that, no, this is not true and this can't be true. Because we've done this for a very long time. Clearly it's not working. Let's change and do it in a different way. And definitely I'm sure we'll get a better result. We have given too much power to the enemy. We have incapacitated ourselves. We believe that if God is not doing it, then the devil must be doing it. So what are we doing? We're just there. So we just have to keep telling people around us. We just have to keep spreading the news, one person at a time. We just have to keep saying it, and I believe the news the message will go around.
Are you not afraid of being intimidated by your relatives and friends that you are backsliding?
Well, at the moment we don't have so many friends. We only have in this Aberdeen. We have just one family friend, and they are already converted. So. I'm sure they're working.
Tell us about your family friend. What happened? How did you influence them?
Yeah.
So these family friends have always as we said previously, even when we followed the Nigerian churches, we always had a measure of a sense of reason anyway, and we were a little bit rebellious anyway. So they've kind of had a bit of respect for us. And then so when we came and they noticed everything about us changed, we did not join in with the old church and with the old mindset. Even when some of them visited, our conversation changed. We were always talking about how we're going to help the world, the less privileged. That became the subject that we were interested in talking about, and then we gave them the link to DSA, and I think at the moment they are probably following the DSA link more than we are.
Are you serious?
Yes.
They got the message.
Yes.
Are you serious?
They are devouring it so much that even the husband, he felt really sad that because he's been out of work for a while, and he's been struggling and thinking that it was a problem, and so he's listening to your series on how that's losing your job. He's listening to your series on hard work, so he's kind of feels regenerated, feels refreshed. He's coming out of depression and having a new lease on life. All the
Somebody is writing online now that is me. They have a new testimony, a new way of thinking. And I was surprised when his wife heard that I was going to Nigeria. She actually gave us some money to donate to the widow that we've adopted. I can't believe it. Are you serious?
We didn't ask funds from anybody.
Even though they are struggling themselves.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
We told her this widow's story and what we plan to do, and we didn't solicit anything, and they now feel moved, and they are now doing. You'll be. I'm not surprised. Other things that they've done in this short period to help out of their own, struggle. They are now saying, "Oh, we want to do this." Why? They've listened. They have reasoned. They know that you can't love God without loving people.
How many years did you waste in church?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Did you waste a number of years in church?
Oh, yes.
It must have been 20 years.
Maybe a decade or and a half, yeah.
Will you contrast that with your friend that is not so religious in England, that was fine?
Yeah. So my friend who was not so religious is a testimony. And his testimony, I'm going to use his testimony because he's Nigerian. He's in very similar circumstance that anybody living in England or even in Nigeria could be facing.
And he's a Christian.
He's a Christian,
but not religious. Not.
He has never been overly religious, and he has been one that I would say embraces virtues like hard work, virtues of being excellent, being the best in whatever you do. And recently he got a great testimony that when people hear the testimony, they will be blown away. And what's the testimony? The testimony is he was asked to he's also in the oil and gas, and a company has been made redundant. So, but because he was one of the smartest in the company, they offered that he was one of the few that could be retained. But he said, no, I don't want to stay. I don't want to continue working. He hasn't heard about DSA. Yeah, this is not because he has heard about DSA. Yeah, so I don't want people to make this about DSA. This is not about DSA, because before we jumped on the DSA bandwagon, we had our experience in Malaysia.
This is just about truth.
This is about truth. This is about universal truth. Yeah. So he said to them, no thanks, I'm good. I'm going to sort myself out. And apparently he had, in his own private time, he had developed two petroleum engineering softwares. And these softwares are so good that what he had done individually as a single person, it can do as much, if not more, what big international giants in the same industry have developed. So the leaders in his company that is folding up are now rushing to partner with him and say, we would help you find market for it and be your partner. Yeah? So what is the testimony here? It's the testimony about conversion. It's testimony about hard work, because he spent hours and hours through the night when he came back from work. It's testimony about being excellent. It's testimony about, we can actually harness, all the energy, that God has stored inside of us to produce results, to produce products. And in his own case, he had not been lazy. He had not wasted time. He had been in the background producing products that are now being launched in the market.
So God has set him free, thanks to the fact that he had not been too religious, going to church 5 times a week, and going to wait on God.
Yes, I would say you're absolutely spot on, because he's my very good friend. We've been friends since university. We have the same level of attitude, if you like, maybe technically. But what is different is he had not been overly spiritual. He has been straight thinking. He has a clear mind. And his results are there to show. He has results. I don't.
So do you think the same situation is with our whole country? We are talking about, we were ahead of Malaysia, we were ahead of Indonesia before independence or after independence, and now they have all overtaken us, Singapore, and is it because of this plague of Christianity, what we call Christianity? It is actually false Christianity, but we think This is Christianity. We call it revival. We say the move of God. We don't know. We have been bewitched like the Galatian church.
We just need to look. We just need to look back. How did these countries overtake us? So let's take it out of the church context. What we saw in Malaysia was a very and the same in Singapore and the rest of those young Asian countries, it's about national development, national transformation. They have 5-year plans, 10-year plans, and it's about hard work. It's about work. It's about value system in the society. People don't want something for nothing. Everybody is doing something. Everybody is producing something. So they started to produce. So, until our nation, we begin to change the minds of people and say everybody should be producing something. Everybody should be producing something. We should all be producing, no matter how small. And the church could be a voice in communicating that to the nation. And how can we be, producing, whether it's software, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's books, whether it's arts, whether it's music and media or whatever, because we have to start from somewhere. And these nations, they all have history. They all didn't start, producing high quality things. But over time, they started to improve. Now Korea, produces, incredible quality. Same in Malaysia, same Singapore, and China is also moving very rapidly into high technology and producing high quality products and sending it all around the world. So so that's a testimony from a friend, a very close friend, and conversion is converted. And Pastor, even 4 years ago was his first project that I helped him broker his first private project, because he always calls me whenever he wants to broker this deal, for counsel, and I always give him counsel on how to to broker the deal. So I don't get involved in the technical side, but I get involved in helping him to do the negotiation. right? So 4 years ago, he was able to make a lot of money by just converting. He's very good in programming, and he's very good in petroleum engineering or reservoir engineering. And his university professor in university, linked him up with a guy in China who needed his services, and he was developing, software products for them. And within 3 months, he made about £50,000. Yeah. So he continued that trend to develop himself, until now, just a few months ago when his company went bust, and he was able to, with confidence, say, no, I don't need any job anymore. I think I have converted enough to begin to dominate in this field without being under any Uncle Sam system. And he has not listened to don't work for Uncle Sam. He has not listened to conversion. He has not listened to time. But he has laid his hand on those truths and all those principles, and it has worked for him.
He lives the principles.
Yes. And he doesn't follow us to all the camps and all the programs and all the stuff that we do. And the message is going to be, stop all the camps. Don't go to no camps. Don't go to no mountains. Just spend time with God. Do your own camp in your own time, and the rest of the time, start converting, start studying, start researching, start producing. You can start producing something, you will improve on it. And everybody can produce something. My wife recently started, producing artwork. The artwork is being gifted to her for a long, long time. But it's only now that she's starting to express it that it's starting to become, a product which she would obviously improve on and develop.
What would you like to say? People are just clapping, excited here. What can you imagine my next program is starting in the next 8 minutes? 5 minutes.
Wow.
5 minutes. So what will be your last word so that we could fix the computer for the next program?
You can go first.
Okay. My last words will be that what DSA is teaching us is the truth. We should not attach emotions to, because obviously we've done this religious things for so long. It's so ingrained in us and it's difficult to shed off. But the truth is the truth, and this is what DSA is teaching us. And we just have to run with it to see a difference in our lives and in our nation.
And what I would like to say finally is 2 words: self-education. You show me someone that has thoroughly self-educated themselves, and I'll show you someone who is dominating in their field. For me, I'm now committed towards self-education to develop myself across multiple areas, that I believe God has talented me. I just want to say the same thing to Christians and people in my nation, that guys, let's stop the rubbish that we're doing. Let's go for self-education. That will literally transform our nation from mediocrity that we currently are to excellence that we aspire.
Wow, the Adeyemos, you people have just come to authenticate my message. You have come to confirm this truth. I'm so glad we had it. Close to 2 hours almost we've been talking with you guys. And you know what? You are the best. You people are the picture of the future of the country. But you must go now and find as many young people as possible like you, or couples or something, to change people's mindset. We should go on a crusade. And while we are closing down now, I want everybody that is watching this on DSA Family to write something. Tell me of your appreciation or whatever you think about this program. This is a unique Kingdom Fruit today, and totally different from the one we normally do. But I want everybody that watched it to just let us know what you feel about this. I hope you are all blessed. Thank you so much, dear Adeyemo. In the next 5 minutes, I'll be coming back to continue my series on the plague of silence. And but I've been hugely blessed, and I'm grateful that this message came out, and now I'm not a crazy, lonely voice. And the church in Ukraine is not just the crazy or something church that is exceptional, only because even people like my friends, like Reflodola, other people, I'm no more close to them, but they used to tell me, you are just a special gift. It is just special anointing. But you see, Malaysia, Muslim country, now.
Yes. Absolutely. No, thank
you for the opportunity, Pastor.
Thanks for the opportunity.
And DSA family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, DSA family.
Bye.